Okay, blended family. We're going to go into, let's see. Let me go up to blended. Hold on. All right. Oh, it might not be that late after all. All right. All right. The teaching we're going to do now is on blended families or being a step parent. Okay. If you're a parent and you've got remarried, you may have found that you have become a parent, and that you really didn't take into consideration when you married someone with a child that you were going to become a step parent or you're going to have a blended family. And if you don't understand the dynamics of that, it might not go real well, okay? Because even though you may accept this child and love this child, it doesn't mean they're going to accept you and love you. I mean, if you're a female and you're married a man that has a child, well, you may not be their mother, and they may not accept you as their mother, even though you're willing to accept them as your child. And you may find that when you try to discipline this child, it doesn't work. You're not my mother, and you're not going to tell me what to do. Or you're not my father, and you're not going to tell me what to do. So there's some interesting dynamics there when you have a blended family. And I have found, because when I married Lorigen, her husband had died, and she had 2 boys. So I understand how this dynamic works, because I had found myself in a position that, I wasn't a saved man at the time. I did not have the experience that I got at Miracle Hill Children's Home, being the assistant director there. So I was kind of feeling my way through this. And I soon learned that, to the exact extent that my wife even perceived that I did not accept and love her children, that she felt unloved by me. Because if I want her to feel loved by me, I must love who she loves. And I must love who she loves to the extent that she loves them. And this can be very difficult if it's not your biological child. And so I had to eventually feel my way through this, and I had to see, and I found this out, from bad experiences, that I had to accept these boys, whether I wanted to or not. It wasn't an option. And I had to love them. It wasn't an option. If I wanted my wife to feel loved by me. There's no options here. So I had to make the decision that I was going to look at them and treat them and have a relationship with them just as if they were my own biological boys. And whether they accepted me as their father or not is a whole different issue. That when I looked at them and I talked to them and I introduced them as my sons. I did not distinguish that I was a stepfather or that they were my stepchildren. I introduced them, this is Audie, my son. This is Angelo, my son. And I can do that. They don't have to accept me as their father. Now, and you don't want to force a child to call you father if you're not their father. You don't want to force them to call you the mother if you're not their mother. Let the child make a decision if they want to do that or not. There's nothing worse than a child coming into counseling and says, I have to call him daddy. I have to. Mommy, she says, I have to. Well, it causes a problem. The child's angry. I've got a daddy. He's not my daddy. I said, well, what would you like to call him? I'd like to call him what his name is. His name is John. How about Mr. John or Uncle, whatever. But let there can be a negotiation there. Don't force the child to call the parent something the child doesn't want to. But you can negotiate to a place that's acceptable. Okay? And you never want to treat a stepchild, especially if you've got a biological child in the family and now you have a stepchild, you don't want to treat that stepchild any differently than you would your own biological child. They should never sense there's any difference whatsoever in the way that you treat your own child and you treat the stepchild. You should not give biological children privileges that you don't give stepchildren. You shouldn't give them hugs that you don't give to stepchildren. You shouldn't say to your child, I love you, and kind of look at the other one. I'm trying to love you. No, I love you too. It's not an option. Your children, especially if it's a blended family, should always see the parents in agreement. They should always see you as one. Now, this can be a little difficult when you're making rules and when you're talking about discipline, because it's changed a little bit, because you're actually not their biological parent, and let me keep that in mind. You are not my father. You're not my mother. So when you go to make the rules of the house, the father and the mother should come into an agreement, and then the father and the mother sit down together with the child, but guess who's doing the talking? The biological parent. Even if the biological parent is a female. It's indifferent. The biological parent is the one who gives the rules and negotiates as to what the consequences are, with the step-parent being in agreement. Okay? Because the child will accept it from the biological parent. And this way the child sees the parents as one, not two separate people. Again, simple rules. Never disagree with each other in front of the child. Never have an argument in front of the child. Never one of you say the child can do something without consulting with the other. Even if you're the biological parent, when the child comes to you and says, can I do this or can I do that, you don't give an answer unless you have first talked it over with your spouse. The two of you need to agree, and you never come back to the child and say, I would have let you, but he said no, or I would have let you, but she said no. You don't want to make the other one bad, okay? That if it's a no, we have discussed it, and we have considered this, and the answer is no. However, because you want to negotiate to a yes, don't you? If you will do this, this, or this, or not do that, the answer will be yes. Okay? So you want to negotiate to a yes. For instance, the child wants to go to a party, and the party doesn't get over to midnight, and the child is 12 years old. That might not be appropriate to stay out to 12 o'clock. But you don't want to say, no, you can't, because the party's going to be at 12. Now, there might be some boys there that you don't want to be there. So you could say, you can go, but you must, first of all, under these conditions, you must be home by 10. And the parents, we got to know the parents are going to be home, and we're going to call them to ensure that they are going to be there, so there's a chaperone. Do you agree to this? Now, it's up to them whether they go or not, isn't it? It's not up to you, it's up to them. You set the conditions, you negotiated to a yes. What causes the most problems in blended families is when the step-parent steps out beyond his authority and tries to administer discipline, tries to make rules and tell the children what to do, and he does not really, in that child's eyes, have the authority to do so. So you want to make sure that the biological parent is the one who's doing the speaking, with the step-parent at the side in agreement. Okay? Any questions on that?
What if the child or adolescent does not have much respect for the parent? I mean, the biological parent.
Then that means that we've got a biological parent that is not treating the child with the proper respect. It's being unjust. Okay? Again, children do not rebel or lose respect for someone they feel loved by. Okay? Most of the times when parents bring children here to get fixed, who really needs to be fixed is the parent in the way they're treating the child. The child's just reacting to the way that they're being treated by the parent. So if I can get the parent fixed, the behavior of the child normally stops in a relatively quick period of time. Okay? Good question. Any other questions? Okay, that concludes this teaching.